Good morning.
Good morning to you, Sonia. Can you hear me okay?
Fantastically so. Everybody, it's David Whitehead, also known as the Truth Warrior. Are you in Canada at the moment, David? Is that where you are?
Yes, I'm in British Columbia, Canada, or as
Right.
I like to call it, Chinata. But
Yeah. Listen, I was introduced to your work by a viewer, Vanessa, and she said, I really would love you to bring David on. He's absolutely brilliant. I'm a major fan of his, and I think that you two could have a really, really good conversation. So I looked at your work, David. I was blown away.
Thank
David
you.
describes himself as a father, a patriot, martial artist, a podcaster, and a freedom advocate. And I'm on part 3 of Cult of the Medics. I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it. David, I presume that you have written, you've produced, you've edited, you've put everything together in that, right? We're talking about a fantastic quality series here. Tell us what inspired you to do Cult of the Medics.
Oh, thank you so much for that. First of all,
Love it.
Sonia, love what you do. And to
Thank you.
Vanessa, thank you so much for the recommendation. This is great. I'm really glad that you are enjoying the series. Yeah, I poured my heart and soul into this. It's probably about 80 to 100 hours of editing alone on each chapter. And
Amazing.
but it's been therapeutic, Sonia. It's been
Yeah.
very good for me to have a good creative outlet, let's just say. And what it is I've been putting together this research for many, many years in combination with the great teachers that I've learned from and the many resources that I have at my disposal. And I'm really trying to distill it down into something that's watchable, that's easy to share.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's something that's going to ask more questions than it is going to be giving answers, because I feel like for me, it was more questions that woke me up than just getting answers to things. And the goal with those types of questions is if you ask the right questions, you can actually help people use their own logic and their own reason to
Right.
look at the evidence and then make up their own mind, which in my opinion is the opposite of what the mainstream media is doing. So that's the goal.
Yeah, well, that you've achieved that, because I've been in mainstream media for years, and I know that one of the most important things is to be able to communicate in an accessible way. And I've already said this to you. What you've taken are these incredibly complex topics, and you've distilled them to a point where they, I believe, are accessible to the masses. And that's what we need now. It's like we don't need people who are just kind of thinking so we need people who are able to speak to many people at once, because that's what they can do. So we need
Yeah.
to be able to do that as well, and you do. So let's have a look at this series then. So obviously chapter 1, it actually the occult history of what you call the medical industrial complex. Give us a little bit of idea about what that is.
Well, we kind of get started in chapter 1 with defining terms. I felt that was very important. You may notice the first chapter kind of jumps around a little bit because I'm trying to put a lot of different pieces on the table that we're going to unpack throughout the series. And so I define cults. That's the research that I began doing prior to all of this stuff. It was just a kind of a fascination of mine to understand these cults, whether they were ancient cults or modern cults. You can think of these cults that you hear about, like Heaven's Gate or
Right.
the Process Church of the Final Judgment or Jim Jones or Charles Manson. And there's so many of these things all over the world. They've always been with us. And I realized that there's nothing new under the sun, Sonia.
No,
This stuff
no.
goes all the way back into ancient times.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the ancient occult side. And then I also bring in a very deep dive into this idea of the medical industrial complex, which we're talking about, obviously, the big pharmaceutical industries, the level of power and influence that they have, being that, the pharmaceutical industry is the #1 most powerful lobby
Oh yeah.
pretty much anywhere in the world.
They're a
Uh,
mafia.
they're a mafia. They're mafia. They fund the
Mm,
media. They
mm.
fund politicians. They have backdoor deals and swing door policies with government and big corporations. So the influence that they have is unbelievable. And then when you start looking at their criminal track record,
Oh,
it'll
come.
blow your mind. These people are still in business. So I look at it like that. And then I realized, okay, it's not just those pharmaceutical companies. There's other satellite organizations and institutions and groups and private, families and things that we have to start adding into this and trying to understand how this could be so coordinated. And I guess I had been looking at this question even before the whole pandemic thing rolled out.
Yeah.
And something inside me told me, wait on this one, don't release anything before we get more of this to unfold in front of our eyes here. And so as I watched the whole pandemic unfold, I realized there was something off right from the beginning. And I decided, I lost my business. I was a martial arts fitness coach with my wife. We'd been doing that for many years, working in the nutritional field, trying to help people with their health and their wellness and their mental attitude, et cetera. And that just got shut down. So they kind of forced me to jump into something else.
Yeah.
And that's what this was to go dive in, do this research, cover this, and try to present the information that I could, the very best that I could. So yeah, we break that down. We get into
Oh,
the
you
funding,
do.
follow the money, follow the history, and follow the real science for a change.
Yes, right. Absolutely. And the thing is that I literally cannot recommend this series highly enough, truly, because it's one of those
Oh,
things.
you're a sweetheart. Thank you.
No, absolutely. And the thing about me is I say it as I see it, right? So if I thought it was crap, I would also, well, I wouldn't have invited you on. Anyway, so, but the point being is that it's a series where you get these epiphanies and you get this hair up on the back of your neck. And one of the first moments, and it was right early on, and it engaged me straight away, was you said something is terribly wrong with our world. Deep down, I am sure you feel it, or you would not be watching a series like this. And I was like, and that I think is that Matrix moment, isn't it? Where it's hitting people that something is just not right. Things aren't adding up.
Oh, I'm glad you felt that. I put that in there. You know, it's weird. I didn't think as deeply as I thought I might have to write this. It just sort of flowed. It just came. And I went, all right, I'm going to go with this. And I'm just going to pour it out based on how I feel it. And I'm glad it resonated. You never know, right? You put it out, you think it makes sense, but until you get feedback, you never know. But isn't it true though? Isn't it true that when you look around, you can feel it, even if you don't know all the answers.
Damn straight.
You can feel it in your soul. There's something that is wrong with the world. And my quest to try to answer that for myself has been going on for about 18 years of my life. And now it's definitely increased as things have unfolded in our current situation. And so my series is, I'm trying to give people a bird's eye view into what woke me up to these things and got me curious about these things. And I'm really just trying to share with people my experience in interviewing the interesting people I've interviewed, reading the books I have, the research I've done, the experiences I've had. They've all helped to shape me. And really, I'm trying to do justice to the people that have come before me, that have sacrificed a lot to share these truths with the world and really try to answer those questions of, yeah, what really is wrong with the world? Why are things
That's right.
geared towards a certain way and not another? And why are things so corrupt and so upside down and backwards, as Michael Elner put it? So that's what I'm really trying to get at, especially with that first chapter.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you ask really important questions. You say things like everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health, media destroys information, government destroys freedom. And it's like, this is all true. What happened to our world that black is white, that up is down, that right is wrong? I mean, it is. And I think you're absolutely right, because we know in our solar plexus, whether we know it or not, on a sort of practical level, we know it's existing. We know there's something desperately wrong. We know that we're being made sick. You know, I think you talk in part about what we call the contaminated blood scandal as one example, when they were giving, you know, HIV positive blood to people, you know, and it's extraordinary what is happening in our world. So I was a bit naughty last night, I'll admit, because I realized that there was chapter 5 up, and I thought I'm only on chapter 3, but I had a quick look at chapter 5 because I couldn't help myself. And I should never skip ahead. It's very naughty. But you're talking about such fabulous things. You were talking about the Amazon contactless payment, and there was a comment. Is that Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? I can't remember her name, but who says a means of authentication that you can wear on your skin every day.
Oh, Regina Dugan. She
Right.
was, she worked with DARPA, Facebook, Google. She's right there at the tip top, I think, in many ways.
Yeah. Doesn't that just like send the fear of God through you when you hear a means of authentication that you can wear on your skin every day?
Well, yes. And I guess with chapter 5, my goal was to ask what I feel is the question of our time, which is, what does it mean to be human? And that's the question we need to ask ourselves. And I know everybody's really excited about these supposed superhuman abilities that we're all going to get by merging ourselves with machines and AI. But I come from the school, maybe I'm just old school, call me what you want, but I feel like something's going to be happening here in the near future. It's already happening, that is going to drastically alter the meaning of what it is to be a human being, especially in an organic state.
Yeah.
And so my question in that series is, first of all, how does this plug into this idea of a cult, number one?
Yes.
And number two, is it have anything to do with what's going on in the world right now? Like, could this, what we're experiencing right now with the lockdowns and the change of the guard and the change in the way that our government is behaving towards us, the dissolution of our constitutions, the Nuremberg codes, the casting aside of alternative opinions, even from expert fields, even from expert doctors and scientists, et cetera. And then this push to get everybody with all these jabs, and it's one booster and another, but it's kind of like, whatever people think about that, my goal is, where's this going? And
Right.
does all this other stuff that's sort of happening in the periphery of the change of technology, the integration constantly with nanotechnology, cybernetics, artificial intelligence, et cetera, does all of this, is this all happening separately, or is all of this part of a massive push to actually alchemically alter what it is to be human? And that's the question. I know it's a scary question, but don't worry. In that chapter, I also give you a lot of good news as well.
Well, you do ask at one stage, are we heading for a great awakening or a great reset? Which I think is a fabulous question. What do you think?
Well, it seems we're going for both, doesn't it? And my question is, which one's going to win the race? It's a race. This is the ultimate arms race, I guess, in a weird way, of our time, which is, are we losing national sovereignty? Are we losing individual sovereignty? Are we losing property rights? Like, when you read what they're proposing with this great reset and these UN goals, and we see government inching towards that more and more, centralized authority, centralized control of the means of production, of commerce, of communication, of media, of everything, you just realize the spirit of independence is gone now. The idea of freedom is gone. And so I'm trying to remind people of the great people who survived horrible times in our history, like the Viktor Frankls and Alexander Solzhenitsyns, and many people that lived through tyranny and who came back to tell the tale and bring their warnings back up to people to say, hey, let's pause. Let's at least pause. You don't have to agree with me, but let's at least pause and ask these questions, because we're moving in a direction that, to me, looks like an absolute nightmare. However, on the other side of the ring, in the red corner or the blue corner, whatever it is, we've got the freedom fighters of the world that are waking up in the millions, Sonia, all over the world, even in Canada, where you'd think it would take forever for Canada to wake up.
Just coming to that,
see what's going on here now.
Well, Dee in the comments wants to know what's going on there for you. I mean, Canada, it's Trudeau. I mean, the man is insane. But what is going on in Canada regarding this whole COVID thing? Is it insane?
Well, it is insane. We're really moving towards something close to Australia. It's getting pretty freaky what's going on in Austria and Germany right now. And to hear our politicians talking about how they're just sort of teasing those ideas right now in the background. And you kind of know this is all coordinated anyways. These people are reading scripts clearly, and they're testing. I think they're just doing the testing. They're testing different areas. And Canada's one of those zones where they realize that the population here has been fast asleep at the wheel for a long time. Canadians are good-hearted, average, good, hardworking people. But we tend to believe the media. We tend to just go, oh, nothing bad ever really happened here. We never really had to fight for our freedoms. Our government would never do that. I mean, we've got the blessing of the Queen. What could go wrong, right? Like, that's most Canadians. And so, when you try to tell people, hold on, man, have you heard about all this stuff that's going on in the background? And it's really hard. But I'll tell you this, as things have progressed, and I mean, as I said, I've been covering this here in Canada since day one. And I've noticed a massive change. I mean, even when you go on any of the mainstream social media accounts, like the major media here, they're all downvoted and everybody's screaming in all caps. People are getting fed up with this. And so the more that this government acts in a tyrannical manner, the more they're going to be falling on their own sword, because every move they make from here on out has to be more totalitarian. And then that will wake up more people. And that's what I see happening. So the rallies are getting bigger. The protests are getting bigger. My show is growing. Other people, other Canadian journalists, their shows are growing, which means people are turning off the mainstream
Oh
news.
yeah,
We
people
are
are hungry for
switching
the
to
truth.
real people.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One of my great goals is to take the audience from mainstream media and bring it this way,
Yes.
because it's absolutely horrendous what the breakfast shows in the UK in the mornings are. Awful, so divisive. They do polls like, should we lock down the unvaccinated, you know, are you friends with people who are all this divisive crap. It's horrendous. It's a horror story. David Whitehead, absolutely brilliant. We love you. He is a truth warrior. I will put a link in the description to Call to the Medics, David. I know our audience will absolutely love it. Leave us with a very positive word about moving forward, please.
Oh, and thank you so much, Sonia. I really appreciate it. The positive word I want to tell people is that the way out is in. And what I mean by that is that they want us divided, as you said. They want us trusting and needing them only and only them. Don't listen to anybody else.
Yeah.
And they don't want you thinking for yourself. So the solution is to do the opposite. Start thinking for yourself. Start turning off that television. Get outside, get out in nature, hang out with your fellow human beings, have that human connection again. That's what makes us human.
Yeah.
Do those things that make you human. Hang out with the people that think the way you do right now, and be kind to the people that don't think the way that you do.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the more signs that I see of all of this, the more they're pushing the propaganda, and then the response is people are waking up and they're finding ways to resist this. I see nothing but positive things in that regard. Never give up hope. It's never too late. Even if you don't feel like you're in the majority, that's probably a good thing. And get this, it's never been the majority in history that's ever changed anything for the better or ever fought for the freedom. It was always a minority that did and won. So we can win this. We will win this. This can be fixed. This will be fixed. So let's do this. We love that.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful, positive, dynamic message. Thank you, David. Have a brilliant weekend. And thank you so much for joining us at midnight your time.
No problem. Anytime, Sonia. Thank you so much.
Take good care of yourself. We appreciate you. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.